Ball, are we all going to be awesome today? Yes. Okay, welcome everybody. And hey, Debbie, Debbie, you made it. Wow. So Debbie's here, and as other people roll in, because we're kind of doing this a little different, I'm so excited that this is going to work. But we're doing another test run tomorrow just to like build confidence that this is all working. But let me just say a little bit about the 3-day challenge, because our community-wide 3-day challenge is coming up on Monday. And it's my hope that we're doing our community-wide 3-day challenge every quarter. And so we did it in January. We're doing it again the beginning of quarter 2. And I'm so excited. So a little backstory on the 3-day challenge. It is an email series with videos. And it has driven really massive success in this community, because what I attempt to do in those 3 days is teach you the main eating model that has driven a lot of success. Now, people take it and they adapt it, and I think that's really fabulous. But that is the place to learn. It is the go-to place to learn the framework. And it's completely about the what to eat question. And that what to eat question has driven serious, massive amounts of success. And so you find the original 3-day challenge. I'm in the kitchen introducing it and saying, hey, just give me 3 days and I'm going to show you the very bare bones of what we do. And so that we're still doing it. We're still doing it because, I mean, it works. Because what it does is it gives people 3 days to test something, like, because we're all like, there's no way this is going to work or whatever. I'm like, hey, try it. Because, I mean, you can do it on food stamps. I mean, there's like no barrier to doing this except, what might be in your mind. That is the biggest barrier we kind of all have, and it's very complicated. But the point is, there's no reason anyone really can't get started pretty much immediately and on like no coin. I mean, there truly are no barriers. And so, I mean, maybe a few, like distribution of lettuce, and lettuce is central to 2 of the 3 meals, things like that. But those are kind of unusual. Hopefully our distribution systems are improving. But that's what the original 3-day challenge was. And as we set up shop, this community area here on the Den, eatlikeabearden.com, I saw the opportunity to do something different, like to take it another step. And that is what the community-wide 3-day challenges are. And it is my hope that like with each one, I can kind of improve it a little bit. But my focus is to, keep that core food content. That's working. And just to have that in those materials, but also to increase the amount of psychology content that is in there. And so you guys are engaged. And so that I'm all like bananas about the big goal. And by the way, the link where you followed this video, in there is an extensive writing about all of this. Too much writing, perhaps. But anyway, I'm bananas about the big goal. And so I've really worked on integrating the big goal and the message of the big goal in the community-wide 3-day challenge. And so, but also, you guys, as we engage, as we really try to focus a little bit more on these goals, these points, like these new little seasons, and trying to like make things better for ourselves, make things a little bit easier, conquering that question, the February 15th concern that Kimberly had about, I'm just sick and tired of always worrying about being fat. And, Kimberly isn't actually really fat, by the way, but in her mind she is, and it bothers her. So how can she get to that stage of being bothered less? And she's we need to get her back on here and talk about her life since February 15th. Because she continues to, I mean, she's on some medications that are weight positive. So she has like some struggles, but she seems to be doing really well, here, because really that's ultimately what it is. Kimberly doesn't want to worry about it all. Like, what if we could wash that away? I mean, washing away sounds really passive and like you didn't do it yourself. But what if our goal was to get past that and being able to do the things we want to do? And so not worrying about like if you're extra skinny or Hollywood Beautiful or whatever, and all these things, but are you out living how you wanna live and not in that constant battle of, like, worrying and, ugh, that, like, overshadows so many of us. Anywho, in that post where you found this link, in the very long essay, I, talk about the run-up to Monday and what we need to do to maximize it for each of ourselves. And I'll talk separately probably about what I'm doing in my own life because some of the things I'm doing are related to, the big Sanford and Son clean out goal that I had in February 5th on February 15th. I am pushing myself into like continuing that. And so that's like a whole other stream of like goal setting. But I know many people here are going to be focused on some core things like, weight loss and the things that are like keeping each person from meeting that goal and making the progress to the big goal that they want. And so I just want to say a little bit about why springtime is so powerful, but also about this concept of intention. We should talk like all the time about intention, just like we're going to talk all the time about the big goal. But let me say something about myself 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, this very month, March of 2017, I was at the office of my bariatric surgeon who would never operate on me for bariatric. He did a hernia repair, but anyway, I was in the very first appointment to go through the sequence of being approved for bariatric surgery. That was 5 years ago. And rewind about 9 months before that, I had started a diet actually on July 4th, 2016, and I was on it for a day and a half when I kind of stopped myself in my tracks with the question, how am I going to maintain my weight this time? Okay, so I didn't have an answer. And I stopped the diet because I thought, you know what, you need to spend time on that. And so then, I mean, do appreciate, like, at that point, I couldn't ever imagined any of this. And probably had you asked me, like, well, what are you looking for? And I would have said, could I lose 50 pounds and then actually keep it off, not keep like having to lose it again and again and again. And, 50 would have reduced, my blood pressure. My blood pressure was really close to being like needing medication. It was in that like gray area where they're like, you better watch it. You better have a cuff at your house, that kind of thing. And so, just like to get the weight down, to get out of that red zone and, to keep it off. Oh, in that time, stopping the diet a day and a half in, which is kind of crazy because that's like the hard part. I stopped it. Of course, it's always easy to stop it, but I really challenged myself with the question, why am I not able to maintain this? And what that question did is I was really at a place of being open to an answer. I didn't know what the answer was. But I had that openness, like when you ask questions, but sometimes you really don't want to know the answer. How often do we do that? I really wanted to know the answer. I really wanted to tackle this thing. I didn't have a blueprint. I didn't have an inkling really at that time. But the key thing is I was open. And I also knew that whatever the answer was would require some kind of change. And so I was then open to change. And as I progressed through those months, I really was creating my intention for change and for like implementing a new life. When I injured myself, so that was July, I injured my knee in December. I'd already in that time thought, maybe hiking has something to do with this. That's a whole other story. But the point is, I injured my knee, which made me more desperate and more likely to gain more weight. And I saw bariatric surgery as kind of my last ditch hope. And that's why I ended up in the doctor's office getting approved. And again, never had it. Okay. But I was looking for anything that would help me in driving that change. I was ready to do the work. I was ready to be committed, but I needed that extra, like, something, and I needed, like, more of a path. And bariatric surgery offers a path. They have a very clear blueprint for you. So I knew there was a blueprint in my future. And I was ready for it. I was ready to implement it and to be like their very best student. And so in those months, those like early 2017 months, I was very focused on I am changing my life and building that intention to change my life. My future self would be behaving in a way that would drive this goal. Absolutely. I just really thought that bariatrics was going to be the path and provide me with that blueprint. What I didn't expect is that, so I was approved in, I might have the dates a little bit wrong, but May, and then, or late May, but I was going to need to have the surgery by June in order to go on this big family vacation in Wyoming. That's where we got the 2017 version of the Yellowstone photo. And I didn't have enough time to recover from the surgery before that trip. The trip was for the solar eclipse, an event you can't change. And so I was just kind of heartbroken about it because I was really eager to have the surgery. But I then basically postponed it. And because of other things in the fall and because of the insurance calendar and meeting the deductible for the year and all that stuff, I hadn't met the deductible. Okay, I'm going to have it in January. And so we, kind of figured it would be in January. And in those months, I told myself, see, I think a lot of you guys have heard the story, but it was then September of 2017. So that summer, I went through that summer knowing I was going to have the surgery in January. But also what I did is I set a deadline for myself that in the fall, like when we got back from that eclipse trip, I knew I had to lose more weight than the surgery would provide. Like the surgery was projecting 100 pounds lost. And I thought, I'm going to get started. And what I'm going to do in that time is I'm going to prove to myself that I've done everything I can do to lose the weight so that when I show up for surgery, I have no regrets. And okay, so an amazing thing happens when you get in your own head to prove to your own self that you had done everything that you can do. And you take that seriously. You take like that bargaining with yourself seriously. I mean, that's what has led to all of this. But I want to point out something really important in that psychology of all of that. And that is my ongoing like intention of what my future behavior would be like, of knowing like, I am making these changes. This is what I am doing. And I know if I am going to have a different life, I have to make different choices. I know that. Again, I just didn't have a blueprint. And so intention and living with that intention and, really like not gaming yourself, which we all do in weight loss. I mean, all the time we do it in life. We do it all the time, right? And so not, being ready to like accept the consequences, of your behavior like an adult, which, the mature moments we all try to have more of that are hard. Okay. I was really deep in that and very serious about that. And in the process found like really was able to combat those, battles in my own head. And again, partly from that point of view of I am doing everything to prove to myself that when I go into that surgery, I did everything. And so that's an unusual psychology to be in. And so kind of one that's hard to replicate here, except we can appreciate the importance of it and build structures of intention for ourselves. And so as we look to Monday, so like Monday is a good like launch day, just like February 15th was a great launch day. Monday is a great launch day too. And there's a lot we can do between this is Thursday and Monday, just a few days. It's not like me in March versus September or January or whatever. That's okay. You can work and like in the run up of like, what am I launching Monday? And so I really encourage you. So I have all kinds of resources in that way too long post to go through those and double back on some of these things, like the big goal discussions, the um so the issue of like practicing the food model. And so those of you who have the soup, skillets, and sautés book, I direct you to like the part of the book where I describe the good day strategies and how to implement that very simple meal every single day, whether it's a good day, bad day, or whatever. You can work on that this weekend. And if you have the RBS book, find your favorite recipe in there, or just have the 3-day challenge. Find a dressing recipe, practice it, so you can just do it in your sleep. That's the idea, because if you're practicing it this weekend, for instance, and with the intention that you're practicing it because you need to have this skill when a bad day comes, and that your intention is to continue to implement this through thick and thin, even on the bad days, that's where you're going to win. Because, you guys, it's like so obvious, it's almost trite. It's the bad days that are the diet killers. Okay, that's very obvious. And so we have to get in front of that. This weekend, pacing around, reflecting, engaging in those things that are kind of holding you back, this is the time. And Monday's just like a really good restart. I mean, think of like the energy of the community of thousands of people restarting. I mean, that's very powerful. That's very powerful. And so, things like cleaning out your kitchen and your pantry, or getting the ingredients together that you do use in your favorite items, making sure those are in your pantry, and making sure like, oh, there's some easy protein frozen in your freezer. Even if you have a freezer like this, you can have a few items that are there. Find a grocery store so in one of the recent TikToks or something, I used this frozen, it must have been the zuppa toscana, one of those, because it was that frozen sausage it's just like cheap frozen sausage from Smart and Final. It's a really good example of, you can just go to the store, you buy that, someone cooked it for you and froze it, and there it is. And tools like that, like, okay, you ran out of freezer space, you need an idea, you like the zuppa toscana, and you can go to Smart and Final and get that sausage, and it's, always kind of frozen and ready for you. There you go. There you go. So some little things like that. Find like the thing at the store closest to you that you can integrate in something that tastes good to you. And, on the bad days, it's probably not even going to taste as good as it usually does. Maybe it'll taste better. I don't know. But it gets you through, and you can keep those intentions and stay on track. Because I'll tell you what makes a bad day worse is getting off track, because then you end up in like all that second guessing and all that just like clouds your mind and makes things harder, not easier. And so do these things this weekend, like engage in that intention of basically your future good decisions. We all know, I mean, it's just also kind of trite. Like, it is the sequence of good decisions that leads us to that place that we want to go. And we really have to fight to set up the right structures that are going to really encourage us, each of our own selves, to make those good decisions every single time. The simplest and hardest thing we are all going to do. Now, so you know what? I'm so excited to see comments here. This is awesome. It's working. It is working. Hallelujah. Oh, wait, though, because the problem in Circle is you know what's working, but then, it's all the people who can't get on. So we'll see how we're doing. And I'm also going to be here tomorrow, but an hour earlier, and just to check on it again. And just kind of, I'll tell you, each of those Circle ones, I come out of, I know you guys are bruised and bloodied from it, and me too. And I just tried not to anyway, let's say, let it really affect my day. and my relationship with the people at the hosts, they know me. They do now. Okay. Trying not to, I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Let's check it out. I love it. Okay. So Sue, thank you, Sue, for saying, because here, Sue D, who's Sue D in with, initial D in the den, is here as Dre fam. Okay. And so this is awesome because, when you make comments on the YouTube videos too, now I know, Sue, now my brain is going to like stitch you together here. Okay. That's good because Anna Sewell is in here too. And you guys wouldn't recognize Anna. So she is Sweet Anachrony on YouTube. So we're all going to have to memorize Anna Sewell. Now on YouTube, I've seen Anna on here a lot, so I know that she's Anna Sewell, Sweet Anachrony. Okay. And so Barbara, I can't find frozen sausage where I live. Yeah, well, so you can buy sausage and cook it up and then freeze it into packages. But that's why, you know what, I would just like on a good day where you feel like shopping, which by the way, I don't often feel like shopping. I'm not a shopper. But now and then I feel like browsing and I'll go through just like with an open mind. I mean, that's how I found the sausage because I was not, who would ever even, I would never have thought to buy frozen cooked sausage like that. And it's like crumbled, like ground sausage. And so you just can pull it out by like a handful. And when I saw it, I'm like, I have to try it. Now there's nothing like gourmet or anything about it. My like gourmet food friends would be horrified. Truly. But you know what? What a great solution. Because really, on a bad day, are you going to be all gourmet? I mean, I'm not. Well, okay, maybe I could keep a gourmet protein in the freezer, but now, and like what what we get in here and talk about, I don't even I feel like that's kind of against the spirit. Like, let's not overly complicate it. And so I found a super simple solution in that sausage. So, Barbara, go to your stores, go to whichever ones you feel like shopping in, and just look through their frozen proteins. And you might find something really great and unexpected. And there's all the common ones like the chicken strips and the beef strips, which, they tend to be expensive. So like my cheap self doesn't go to those immediately, but they are very convenient. And if you look at the cost of like getting off plan versus leaning on someone else cooking a chicken strip for you, it's gonna be cheaper, and it's in your long-term interest to let someone else cook that chicken strip for you if that is what you need to do to stay on focus. And it's on the good days where you can batch cook all the stuff and save the money and feel great about like your kitchen duties and all that, if that has value to you. Of course, if it doesn't, you just buy the chicken strips. But yeah, I love, so Anna is one of the homeschooling moms, and we go to a school. It's not, it's kind of a hybrid school, a homeschool hybrid. But the thing is, that is like a magnet for all of the industrious moms. And so there is a strong culture among the moms about like the batch cooking and all that stuff. And so if you have that value, then you should definitely do that on good days and just fill that freezer. But if you don't need it. You don't need the value. It's okay. Get like, even if it's Foster Farms cooking the chicken strips for you, that's going to be better than, come on, the drive-through and all the other things that might be keeping you from meeting your long-term goals. So, yeah. So Barbara, that's your assignment. Go forth and shop and then report back to us. You know what we should do? We totally need a thread. Let's do a thread that has all of these suggestions in it for like purchased, prepared, like cooked, cut right out of the bag. Like that's the vision. Okay. You grab it right out of the bag and you throw it in the pot. And again, we won't win awards from the foodies or the gourmets. but that's not what we're trying to do, is it? Okay, we need a list. All right. Okay. Um, okay. Now, Barbara, so Barbara's having a problem getting in. Now, I wonder if that's a problem getting into Circle, so into the den. You guys, what's happening, I think, is with people getting the link by email and then clicking through to the den. If you're not logged in that browser that your email is sending you to, so like say, so you open your email and you read it, and there's a link and you click it, your email system, okay, so not the den, your email system is set up to open in some sort of browser. Like it's set to open in Safari or Chrome or Firefox or whatever your default browser is. And so depending on your email system, there's a setting somewhere. Okay. Well, so you need to make sure that you stay logged in on that browser. So if it's Safari, that's like your default, log in and then stay logged in to the den. Because then when you click and it opens in Safari at the den, you should still be logged in. So if this is all working right, like the whole sequence of it, you should always be able to just land right in there. So I kind of wonder if that's the problem that you're having, because especially we're getting comments that like from email, the links, like, you know, because there's like that paywall problem that says like, hey, you don't have access to this. That means you're not logged in, because we know you're in there, Barbara. So why is it that you're not already logged in? And I think it's the browser. So you can change the default browser for your email, which is an option, but maybe easier is whatever the default already is, to make sure you're logged in. And when there's like a little toggle to the option to stay logged in, make sure you click on that and stay logged in. And so that really, I think, should solve the problem. And if it doesn't, I'm kind of interested in hearing about what it is that, like, where, you know, what's going on, and we can look at that and see, like, but I think that's going to be 90% of people who are having a problem getting from the email to seeing the content in the den that's the engaged content. Now, some of the content is, and a growing amount of content is public. And so that's the other thing. Some of the stuff you click through, you'll see it. And that's because it's public and anyone can see it. And then some of the stuff, like the link that brought you here today, or that should have brought you here today, without having to ask Sander, is some of that is just like people who are in Engage. So, okay, let's see. Okay, Debbie is fessing up that she keeps a small Wendy's chili in the freezer to grab for the bad days. Hey, so okay, yeah, okay, Debbie, you know what? That's better than a lot of options, right? But I wonder if you can level that up a little bit in terms of maybe the carb amount of it. Because I'm assuming Wendy's chili, I've never even had it. Boy, I haven't even been to Wendy's since, I don't know, 1985 or something. But that's funny. No, I surely have, but it's been a long time. So that's like a chili bean thing. Yeah, and is it because the comfort of it, the convenience of it? If there's a way to have some, like, you probably have the cooked book, Debbie, to find a couple of recipes in there, and maybe you could batch cook some and put some of those in the freezer. And so if it's like you're having a go-to freezer dish that's already completely prepared, which that the soup skillets and sautés book is really great for that, then yeah, I would do that. I encourage you to look at that. There's actually, I don't know that it tastes like Wendy's chili, but there is a chili recipe in that book that I think is really good and has just some great chili sorts of flavors in it. And I'd make a couple of those and freeze them. That's what I do. If you like it. But you know what? Sometimes these things, like if you really love the Wendy's chili, you might not like a different chili. And so sometimes it's good to go into a complete different direction, like Thai flavors or whatever, that don't compete with that thing, because it's kind of like when you give up Diet Pepsi and you're like a hardcore Diet Pepsi drinker, and then if you went to Zevia Cola, you'd think Zevia Cola tasted like crap because it would compared to what you loved, the Diet Pepsi. And so you'd want to go in a whole different direction, I think. So consider those things, Debbie, but I would totally work on replacing that. But it's good that you've had something, and I think that having that preparedness is really, really great. And so good for you, Debbie. And I'd approve it a bit. I would. And that's also what we can all do. Like, let's look at these things that we're doing and just tweak them ever so much. Just work on that and just do a little bit better. I mean, that's how I've done it in maintenance too. I'll tell you what, like in maintenance, I thought, oh, I'll just do, a 2 meal a day model. And then I'll eat, like I got into seeing more of the keto foods and all of the like make enchiladas from cheese tortillas and stuff like that. So I tried a lot of that stuff. And it was like realizing that wasn't working because I was overeating and wasn't as satisfied. That's how I got through where I am with maintenance, is just that, like, do this thing, try it, see how it's going, and change it and improve it. And so let's just, everybody, like in each of our lives, we're just trying to improve certain things. That said, I have no idea how bad Wendy's chili is. Maybe it's diet food. I don't know. But since Debbie's apologetic, I'm guessing that it's not. Okay. And so, oh, and Debbie, and you have it on your salad with sour cream. Yeah, that sounds really good. Okay. Oh, and Barbara's saying, yeah, talk to the meat manager. Yeah, absolutely, for things like special cuts and stuff like that, for sure. And there's some cuts you can get sliced that makes it easier to do like a big batch of something like, I don't know, carnitas or something like that. But I mean, like the stuff that's already cooked and just in the package. You know what I mean? Like the bag of cooked chicken strips that's just, and you can see like the charred marks. I think they put those marks just so that it looks tastier. I'm sure of it. Anyway, those stuff like that, grab it out. It's already cooked because you're just throwing it on the pot to defrost, basically. Look for those. But yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do in terms of going to the butcher to get especially bulk items and, watching for sales. And, that's the stuff for your good days. And for really batch cooking and stuff like that, is to go in and find all the stuff that's on sale or just whatever else. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Debbie, never shop when hungry. Amen. No, that's for sure. Yeah, for sure. Truly. And yeah, try to eat like when you're all full and satisfied is really a great time to shop. Really, really great. So, yeah, so Jeanette, hey, Jeanette. And so Jeanette is recommending cooked shrimp, chicken strips, and meatballs. Yeah, so the cooked shrimp, for sure. I mean, all those, absolutely. The meatballs, watch like what's in them and try to find a brand that's at least more meat and less, like some of them, you can even taste it. It's like they're half bread. You can taste it in there. And you don't want those. But also in terms of, sometimes if you're really wanting to go super low carb, it's just easier to buy the ground beef, and you could roll it into balls, but I pretty much never do that because I'm too lazy. But just make up a big batch of ground beef and season it however you want and put that on the salad in lieu of meatballs, or in the skillet dish in lieu of the meatballs. And you could leave it, if you want it a little bit bigger, you can kind of like not overly sort of break up the meat in the skillet. That's the super lazy way, which I kind of do all the time. Yeah, and very often I'll buy something like 5 pounds of ground beef. That tends to be my own approach. I've bought 10. I've cooked up 10 pounds. I've cooked 1 pound, but 5 for this family. A lot of times I'll buy about 5 pounds. I have 2 big skillets. I'll make hamburger patties in, like, I fit 6 patties in the skillet, so I'll make one batch of patties, and then the rest of the meat I cook up in after those 2 skillets are done, I use a hot skillet then to, like, make the rest of my ground beef, and so typically we all have burgers, and then, there's the ground beef left, and so so I do stuff like that. And it definitely more common than the meatballs for that reason. It's cheaper, it's not that hard, but it's not fitting my requirement. Okay, so the meatballs are the grab out of the bag. The raw ground beef is not. So anyway, okay, got off on a little tangent. Canned wild salmon. Carol is recommending, yes, mixed with celery and onion with mayonnaise. Okay, Carol, I'm like, this is maybe what I'm eating today because that sounds delicious. Yes, absolutely. I absolutely always have either a canned salmon or canned tuna, I mackerel. I keep canned fish I mean, there's always some kind of canned fish in my pantry, and usually there's all of those in my pantry. It's just that simple, right? I mean, that's a no-brainer. Always there, always. So yeah, Faith is mentioning the enchilada made with zucchini. Yeah, absolutely. And so you can just get a lot of zucchini in there. But you see, what I didn't appreciate, Faith, is at the time, I hadn't had even like all the feedback from this community. I hadn't learned a lot about what it was that I did in all those months that was really like critical in driving my own success. It was really like shining the light on that through this community and the social proof of seeing other people doing it and really thinking more about it kind of strategically and like shining a light on it, that I even appreciated how important that vegetable base is. I mean, not to be ridiculous, because I talk about that all the time now, but coming out of the weight loss phase and into maintenance, I didn't appreciate that at all. And so the idea of wrapping up a bunch of ground beef in a cheese tortilla and putting enchilada sauce on it, well, first, it's delicious, but I didn't appreciate that. First of all, you have all the calories of those cheese tortillas, and what you don't have is that huge like fiber filling thing in the vegetables. And so interestingly, I would end up with more calories in those enchiladas. Again, delicious. Wouldn't we all want to eat them? More calories, because it took more to satisfy me because I didn't have that zucchini. So in that case, using it with a zucchini and with a lot of zucchini, that would be the strategy. And it took me months and months, years, to learn that. It's so obvious. So obvious. And in fact, I mean, I do say commonly, like, would I have even maintained my weight if I had not founded this community? I don't know that I would have, because I wouldn't have had the same dynamic of really looking at what I was doing analytically. I think I would have just continued to take a lot of things for granted and probably just would have ended up struggling. I wouldn't have had that feedback myself personally from seeing other people implementing things that I was doing or variations of things that I was doing. I mean, the analysis of it, I just wouldn't have had it. And so it's kind of amazing that, I think it's taken like the learning from this community to help me, myself, and of course, help other people implement. Okay. And Sue says, I'm able to cook every day for my family. So for me, making batches for myself all falls into place. And I prefer homemade to restaurant foods. That's great, Sue. That is great. And yeah, I mean, exactly. So as you're cooking, the chicken strips for their food, their meal, or, to put on their noodles or whatever it is, then you just make it and you just have a different base. Exactly. That's what I do so like the hamburger example of like me buying the 5 pounds of ground beef and then patting up those hamburgers. Yeah, they're having that on bread and I'm having mine in my lettuce wrap. So that's how we manage it. they also will, like Sander, my husband, buys a lot of kind of like the freezer entree kinds of things, some of his favorites. So he always has stuff around here. He's fine. And, he can warm that stuff up just pretty easily. Let's see. So Terry is saying brown up ground beef with cumin, salt, pepper, ground chili powder, onion powder, garlic powder, and you have the basis of a freezable protein to be the base of a salad. Yeah, absolutely. So Terry's recipe is for like a, something with like a taco seasoning type of thing. And so anytime you want that seasoning in your salad, I mean, you're ready. You're completely ready. And so you can, each time you cook up something like ground beef, you could season it a little bit differently. And then you could label it so that and then you have a whole variety pack in there. But I'm kind of with Terry. Like if I were choosing one seasoning combination for ground beef, that sounds good, Terry. And so cooked shrimp, yes, awesome. And in the skillet recipes, so many of those things I have frozen and I just throw them on top and let them like stay in there that whole time with all the other stuff, and it works really well for chicken, beef, and all that. Doesn't work for shrimp because shrimp overcooks really easily. So with shrimp, when I'm adding it to a salad or a cooked dish, I follow the common instruction of defrosting it in water. And then to the salad, I just add it, like I squeeze out the water and just add it to the salad. The cooked dishes, I'd like it to be warm. And so what I do is when the cooked dish is done, I've squeezed out the shrimp and put it in there and put the skillet back on, like turn the fire off and just put it back on there to just let it warm up a little bit because, it can overcook like that. I mean, it's gone and then it's all chewy. So that's the issue with the cooked shrimp, but is really, really super easy. It's a great option. It's lower in calories. So if you're actually struggling with like being filled up and trying to keep your calories down a little bit more, shrimp is one of the best options. Yeah. Let's see. Lori says, I keep those little breakfast sausages that are frozen but pre-cooked. Yeah. See, exactly. And, so again, none of us are going to win like the award for gourmet or anything else by having frozen sausages like that. So what? Because our reward is measured much differently, right? Okay, that's awesome, Lori. Yeah, because there's a lot of different sausage products. That are cooked. This one surprised me because it's just crumbled ground sausage, which I don't know, I hadn't seen it before. I hadn't looked. So anyway, I should also get out and look more. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be in civilization in about 9 days, and I will go to actual stores and look. Try to find something new. Okay. Terry says community accountability is key for me, especially as I get nearer to being finished with my weight loss phase, fighting off good enough with a commitment to my best. Yes, Terry. So let me say, I've said this before, but let me say about talking about spring. And Terry, as you get closer to that finish line, spring is the very best time. Because, I mean, wow, once you're at that, you surely are at a life-changing weight already. And you're right. That's where it's easy to just rest on your laurels. And if you don't push through, I'm afraid to say you probably never get there because it's just always hard to push through. Push through now, push through now. Like this is all like closer to you. The benefits of the changes that you've already implemented should be so apparent to you. And if they're not, I think spend like every minute thinking about it, like what I can do right now. And I don't care if it's just that you sort of only lost 30 pounds, like, because I don't know where you started, what your starting weight was, Terry, but people starting at needing to lose 200 and grinding off a bunch of weight. Those changes are so dramatically apparent. But even if it's, getting from, 190 to 160, it's pretty different. And really, really be mindful of them. Like really go out and think about it, like reflect on it. So maybe that's one thing you could do this weekend, Terry, is get out and be active. Hopefully there's some good weather where you are. We're starting to get some good weather here, but just the beginnings of it. If you can get out and really be reflective on it, and that really, I mean, it touches you, deep, and be grateful of those changes, and like that this is your time, and that's like your fuel to do even more and to do better. And what happened with me then 4 years ago, so 5 years ago, I was in that bariatric surgeon's office. 4 years ago, this month, I hit 100 pounds, no, 110 or 20, somewhere in there, pounds down. And I got out and I hiked. I mean, my goal was hiking. And through the winter, these elevations were closed, like the roads to the higher elevations are closed in the winter. And it was bad weather. I was able to get out and walk a little bit. And so, I mean, I knew how much my life had changed. But those roads opening up for me, I mean, think about it like this, even the symbolic nature of that in the spring. So there I was down all that weight with a goal of hiking. And then like the gates open. And so I got out and I hiked. I hiked my heart out. And because that was my goal. And so I stayed focused on it. And I mean, that's how I lost the last 20 pounds that I never imagined I'd be losing. And so I did it. You can do this. You can do this strategically and mindfully, Terry, that like go out and get it and just like enthusiastically get it. Now, one big thing, especially if what you're doing is very active and exercise oriented, I do want to put out the little warning that, you'll always out eat your hike if you let yourself. And so one of the things I did, and I didn't even really appreciate it or think about it, is I really kept a good governor, like a limit on what I was eating. I kept doing the 1 meal a day model in that whole period. When I went on hikes, sometimes I had a very like a trail bar, or something like that. That was a low carb one. Like it seems like it was like Kind bars. And so I had a rule at the time. It was like so many miles, I'd get 1 bar. So maybe, so a 5-mile hike, I maybe get 2 bars, which you're totally hiking off those calories. But the point is that I did have a boundary. And I look back on that and think that was really smart, because how easy would it have been to, just eat my salad, have a 5-mile hike, real thigh buster, and then say, wow, I have just earned this giant steak dinner. And, maybe, except I wouldn't have lost the weight. And so be mindful of that. You can always out eat your exercise. And we always want to, because we always want to eat more, truly. And then when you feel like you just earned it, you earn what you deserve is getting to your goal. And springtime exercise and living vibrantly is exactly the way to do that. And you can totally exercise on a 1 meal a day model. I mean, I don't have, I think it's far easier to go the other way and end up just basically overeating. I'm looking at comments. Jeanette says, what you said earlier about accepting that you needed to change has really hit me. Very poignant. Even though I have changed a little, I don't think I thought of it like that. Yeah, I think back on like kind of my maturity. I'm kind of amazed by it. And basically, I've really reflected back on my openness in July of 2016 to like a new message. And so I think that's really interesting. I'm not sure why then, but I'm aware that I was very open to a new message. And it's difficult with weight loss because you hit that point and maybe you're open, and I was, but without a blueprint, what do you do? Because that's where like the lifetime of diet failure comes in, and all the self-doubt, the second guessing clouds what you're able to do at that point. And that's why so many of us struggle, because I think a lot of people hit those moments of being open, but then don't have a blueprint. And maybe I was open at other times in the past, but again, didn't have the blueprint and ended up in kind of some of the same problems that I'd had all the other times. Yeah. So, Terry, let's see. Oh, wait. Oh, Terry. Okay. I missed your comment. Terry started at 283. Oh, and so, wow, Terry. Okay. And in 4 years, okay. That's your big assignment. Oh, I really want to hear about this, Terry. You're going to have to follow up with us. Go out. Do you have good weather? Okay. And really, like, take notes. I mean, like, really, really. I mean, I'd go deep, and I wouldn't take any of the details for granted, but that's amazing, Terry. Congratulations. And so you're at 154. You are super hiking worthy. Hey, you are at 283 too. I mean, I got out and I mean, I limped around at those blooming trailheads, like a beast. So I think I was at my best at 280, because it's hard to push yourself out there. It's hard to push yourself out there. But Terry, congratulations, girl. Wow, that is exciting. And so spring is here. Spring is here, Terry. And so spring is here for you, Terry. Spring is here for all of us, because I mean, that's why I'm really struck by the timing for me as I look back on my own sort of progression. The timing for me in the very beginning phase, that I really did leverage spring, because maybe I didn't mention this detail, but I was in the bariatric surgeon's office and really looking towards, like, knowing I needed to change and having like this key goal. But I got out. I mean, it was spring. I got out. I limped around the trailheads. I did it. I mean, I got out and I engaged. And that was me setting intention and knowing, I mean, again, knowing I was going to have bariatric surgery. I was going to live differently and make different decisions. And at that point, I already was. So I was already starting to lose weight, all the ways we usually lose it. I just didn't have confidence that I could get where I needed to be. But I began the process in spring. I began it in spring, and spring offers so many opportunities for us, like physically, and engaging with the world. I think it's important. I think it's important for us as humans to get out and be out there in whatever way that really resonates with each of us. It turns out that so many people in the Eat Like a Bear community actually come from very rural areas. So I find that interesting. I mean, not everybody, but far, far, far more than average. So, I mean, most Americans are in cities now and suburbs. And I think so most community members here are in very rural areas or in, suburbs more on the outskirts of some of the urban areas. Yeah. Spring. Okay. Terry, instead of a carrot on a stick, it was a trail bar on a stick. Yeah. So my, you know what? It's funny. So in reference to my hikes, and that I would get these trail bars for however many miles, that was just my way of putting a boundary on it. Cause I mean, I could easily eat like 6 of those bars or whatever. And so I'm glad I did that. That was smart. That was very smart. It did put a boundary on it. Looking back on it, I didn't even need to eat the trail bars for the fuel. I think I thought I did. And now I might, just because, yeah, it's kind of fun, little reward. And for a thigh busting hike, you burn it off. Yeah. But for me, the real carrot was just that I was able to do it, and so Terry, you get out and do it and like savor it and don't take it for granted and engage with that and like use that to stay, like keep your heart, like engaged in making those daily decisions. Because the other thing, Terry, is I mean, we all know that it's real easy to just bounce right back up to 283. I mean, like that. I mean, just like that. And it's going to be this engaging out there in your new life that is your maintenance strategy, appreciating it so that you continue to make good decisions. And so that, and then if you're able to continue making those good decisions, that's where you wash away this problem, the Kimberly February 15th problem of, I'm tired of always worrying about being fat. And so dig in out there, Terry. I am so excited to hear your report. I mean, that is awesome. Oh, and Terry's in Northern Michigan. Okay, so it's coming though, Terry. Oh, that's now I'm really super excited. Okay, so you can still engage. So okay, how are you going to do? Where in Northern Michigan? So, did you see the Yellowstone story, Terry? Let me see. You know what? Let's see if I can like just quickly post a link right here, because I bring it up only because the shoot, let me see if I can even find it on the Eat Like a Bear website. Okay, see, I'm over here trying to type the link. The Yellowstone story. So you guys know the postcard from Yellowstone. What? Okay, I'm putting a link right now. Okay. You guys know the video postcard from Yellowstone. Did that post? Now I'm curious. Did my comment post? Okay. A postcard from Yellowstone video. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. And you can follow this link and you'll see the whole backstory. But one of the interesting parts of the backstory, Terry, is the whole like why we took the after picture and where the video itself came from involves Michigan. So we purchased my brother-in-law's Ford. So we're a Ford family, a Ford tied family. But he was in the New Jersey area, and near Sandra's parents are near Philadelphia, and his brother in New Jersey. So we flew out. The kids and I flew out there, purchased the Ford, and that was a used Ford's friend and family program purchase. And we then, like it's Ford fever time or whatever, right? So we thought we're going to drive it home, but we're not going to take the direct path because, that would be boring. And we drove from the Philadelphia area up through Michigan, and we stayed near Traverse City, and then ended up going through the UP and over. And that's how we ended up in the after photo for Yellowstone. But anyway, let's see. Oh, and Sue says, I've always wanted to get up to Northern Michigan, have only gotten as far as the shores of Lake Michigan. Yeah, so, and Terry is on the shores of Lake Huron, northeast Michigan, an hour from the bridge. Wow, Terry. Okay, so Terry has a few weeks left before good weather is coming. But work on it anyway. Okay, work on your reflections. I'd love to hear them. And I think because you're about to break out. And what an amazing, amazing place that you're in when it's time to break out. And so why don't you also like make some plans for that and tell us your plans, because we want to hear them. Oh my, I can't even tell you how much my heart I just want to be back in Michigan. So the detail on that too is there's someone whose heart wants to be back there even more than mine. And that's Diane, who's in that story, Aunt Diane. So Aunt Diane is in physical therapy right now and working on getting back there to her. She and her husband, who's passed, that's Uncle Bill, have a place right on Lake Michigan. And you'll see the photos, like the kayak photos of the lake. That's their property, like right there. It's amazing, really amazing property. And so she's just working like a dog to get back there physically and to be able to spend the season there, and probably the winters now not there, so she's luckily been able to be there full time for a lot of years. It's just so amazing. Northern Michigan. We should all meet up. The meetup. Myron is asking, Myron, it says, yeah, absolutely. So all of the lives, you should be able to watch them. Okay. So, and Myron, I'm so glad you're here today. I hope that we can always really kind of get into a routine of, if you want to come while it's live and chat, that's exciting and awesome. But absolutely, always they will be there. And so you should find them. And so that's it, the same post that you used to find this will have this embedded as a replay. And that should be the case all the time moving forward. Absolutely. So, yeah. Yes, Terry, the Bear Enclave in northern Michigan. At Sleeping Bear National Lakeshore, whatever it is, one of the national designations is called, is there Sleeping Bear. So, yeah, maybe there. Okay. Okay, so Terry is so wow. And so Terry says he's directly across from Traverse City, but just on the east side. Okay, so the east side, that means, Terry, you're right on a 45th parallel. I mean, you're right there, because that's the other thing. So the Yellowstone photo where Frederick and I are reaching out and touching each other's arms across the sign. That's the 45th parallel in northern Wyoming, right on the border of Montana. And I didn't have many before pictures, and Frederick was really into geology and all kinds of stuff. So he loved that sign and said, "Oh, we got to take a picture." So I was just trying to be a good sport as a mom. And that's how that before picture even exists. But anyway, it's interesting to me that the reason we were even there is because we spent a week beforehand also at the 45th parallel, basically in Michigan, that, before we even knew we would care about that. And anyway, and so now Terry lives right on the 45th parallel. Like, what if there's like some, like, I don't know, like I don't know, the astrologists or whoever like make meaning out of some of these things. I have no idea what they'd say about this 45th parallel thing. But anyway, Terry, regardless of what parallel you're at, I mean, northern Michigan, that is fabulous. That is really, really fabulous. So, and so Terry's also telling a story that I'm saying here, that so many of us are in rural areas, because I'm totally rural here in California, and so we have lots and lots of community members who are in rural areas. Like Anna Sewell, there, she's all big city compared to most of the community. She's in a city of like 120,000, which that's what I mean by, like, she's one of our most urban people. Which is, most like actual big city people consider that city to be tiny. But she's all big and urban for us. Totally. She has a grocery store. Okay. Looking at comments. Okay. Oh, okay. Terry Ross says, so it's the dunes. So Sleeping Bear National Dunes, because there's actually national lake shores there too, which I'd never heard of that designation. So we are in a national monument, but there's various federal designations. There's another one that's unusual, that's like botanical monument or something. So there's different designations, which is cool. Yeah, and the Sleeping Bear Dunes is a great place. I was there once with my ridiculously big salad out there eating at a bench, and had it just there in public. And a man came up to me, and he was shocked, and just like came up like this. Said, "That is a big meal." Like, yes. Right there. Yeah. And let's see. Oh, and so Anna, yeah, just got grocery. Like, see, she's in a big city with grocery service. We should do a poll in the community. How many people have grocery service, like delivery service, and just see. I would be very curious about that. And also, I mean, we're totally rural, so there's no way. I mean, grocery service isn't coming here. I mean, I think, like, Armageddon would come before grocery service in our area. But I'm curious how small you have to, you are where in America now where there is no delivery service. So delivery service is, probably if you're in a town of 50,000, I would think there's probably some delivery things. I don't know. I'm curious. Now, I've never thought about this before because definitely not here. Okay, you guys. So what you're doing, because Monday, the 3-day challenge, it's traditionally very food focused, and we should be food focused because it is a necessary part of weight loss. But to make really dramatic, lasting change requires that we all make changes in our own lives and in those sequences of decisions that are going to drive our long-term goals. So ultimately, it's not just changing what we're eating. If we're going to make those changes every single day, it requires change in here and change in here. And that is where we have a new opportunity to kind of relaunch, rededicate ourselves, identify some of those things that maybe are holding us back. And so there's projects, you guys have all heard about it before, but there's no end in life to really redoing these things. Okay, so in the post that you used to find this video, you can find lots of information about this and links to past content that maybe you've seen, maybe you've missed it. If you've seen it, you might want to look at some of it again. So, things, and there's instructions that you will recognize. Things like make your list of 5. Like this weekend, like look at it again. If you made it before, look at it again. Push yourself a little bit more. Like if you've had really good luck with that list of 5, can you push yourself a little further? And it's like what I did February 15th. I really pushed myself with that goal. I don't know if that was obvious, but it was real. I really pushed myself. And so now I'm looking at not just like my basic list of 5, which is like the eating and the, getting to sleep, kind of in the right spirit and stuff like that. My basic list of 5 is probably going to kind of stay the same, but I'm looking at related to that February 15th project I had. Continuing that in that same spirit, and but it's going to take pushing me too, because I'm tired. And that was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, but it changed my life. And how can I, and honestly, that's just one mess, right? I mean, we have a property full of messes. How can we just push and push and push? And I kind of hate to say it like that, but we have to sometimes with these big projects. So I am pushing myself to like get the next phase on its own schedule so that it happens. It's just easy for things not to happen. So that's kind of where I am with my own approach, but, and me trying to like make the next season sort of better for myself. And so look in your own life and what it is that you can do. And the list of 5 is really a powerful and simple, but not easy, right? Place to go. This weekend, you can be like practicing your food model with intention. You can be cleaning out your kitchen, your pantry, if that needs to happen. Those kinds of structures, your environment, you can work on that. And as you work on it, the act of working on it is building intention for your new life and for like the series of new decisions that you're making. Those activities build intention. And I mentioned in the post, I'll mention it here too. This is where, like our culture says, if we're like about to start a diet, then, well, we obviously need to like celebrate and binge beforehand. What's that doing for intention? And think about that. And like, what are cheat days doing for intention? That's why I don't like them. Okay. Get out. Like, okay. So Terry maybe you can get out a little bit, Terry, if it's just cold. And I don't know if you still have ice on the ground or whatever. I mean, Michigan, that's hardcore stuff up there. So if you can get out, bundle up, get out and walk with intention and reflection on what you've done. Congratulations, Terry. Wow. So let's see, looking at my little list here. So again, there's videos, like all the past videos on things like the list of 5, it's all in there. It's all linked. And push yourself. Push yourself. There is no, that's how change happens. It's not easy, but that is how your life changes, and it always requires pushing. It does. So if you've kind of been waiting for it to get easy, don't wait. Because I hate to say it, but it kind of doesn't. What makes it easier is like your own readiness and your own focus on your positive, vibrant future. And the act of staying focused on that really does help with the intention. It helps with that sequence of choices, and you get the sequence going. The next one is easier. Like that first one's really hard, and the next one's a little bit easier, and then easier. And you need to get on that path. That's your path. And you can do a lot to build intention for that. So that's what I want you guys working on and reporting back. So let's see. Okay, so Sue is guilty of that binge before the start of a diet. Don't even apologize, Sue, because everybody kind of does it. And we culturally, I think we're really told to do it, honestly. And don't do it this weekend. Because think about these decisions with the framework of what you did before, and it didn't really work, right? We're doing something different, and use the time to build intention. Like when I was in the run up to February 15th, and I had the idea that I would work on that storage shed project that had been weighing on me for like 2 decades, you guys. A long, long time. And I hadn't seen a clear path. And I got out there and I just paced out there for a day before I could even see clearly what to do, because I was so overwhelmed by it. And then once I had the idea, I just continued to just really stay in it and engaged in it and focused, like pushing myself through it. So anyway, okay. So that's the place to be mentally, I expect. And binging doesn't at all get you there. At all, with the food at all. Because it has you focusing on the things like, you're just focused in the wrong way. It's like the video I did on like, what are you pining away for? Don't pine away for the cookies. That's a big problem in people like, well, I had to eat it because I just couldn't stop thinking about it. Well, right. Stop thinking about it. And I know that sounds so easy, but why are you thinking about it? Why don't you think about something else? And I realize how hard that is, but, and it takes practice and discipline, really. But it is all that thinking about it we've done all those years that caused us to be fat, unfortunately. So, let's see. And Honest Soul says the biggest treat is living an awesome life. I try to remember how bad the old stuff felt. Absolutely. Yeah, and so not to dwell on it, right? And not in the purpose or spirit of like kicking yourself over it or whatever, or judging your past self. You got yourself from that place to the place that you're at now. And I don't care if the distance for you right now is just that you've made a decision to change. That's powerful. And anyway, the point is, look back with the point of staying focused on your positive future. And you're not looking back with like shame and all of that. You just like recognize all those decisions I made in the past weren't good decisions. I'm going to make different decisions. So anyway, the amazing decisions that I made, there I was, I made them at 280 pounds. And I'm really proud of what I did in that time. And I don't actually feel shame for like my past self. I don't. Um, I'm not even entirely, I don't understand why, because I felt a lot of shame at the time. And, like lived in a lot of that. And now I look back on it as like, those were decisions that led me to that place. And I was able to make different decisions that led me to this place. That's pretty amazing. It's really flippin' amazing. Whew. One wild bee. Hey, what's your name in the den? One wild bee who says, I'm a rural girl in a suburban world. And I love it. One wild bee. That is a great moniker in here. I love it. And Sue, I would love to hear your story about being engaged in other things that stop thinking about food. We need that story, Sue, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and how many, I mean, think about like as a culture, how focused we are on food and how hard it is to get away from. I mean, we talk about that all the time, how hard it is to get away from it. And once you like step back on it and look at it through that lens, I mean, no wonder we have such a problem with obesity. I mean, no wonder we've all struggled with being fat. I think the amazing thing is not that we struggled. I think the amazing thing is that we're here in this community finding solutions that, shouldn't be as countercultural as they apparently are. But this whole like, you know, not eating in the company room all the donuts that they put out or whatever. So if you don't eat it, and like feeling like you have to like engage with that or whatever, why? I mean, anyway, and it just I mean, food is all over the place and it's all through social media. I mean, and like all the keto pages. I mean, you guys know, I mean, I know this because, I have a page in Facebook. They share desserts because we share them. We all want to share them. And so that's what gets them eyeballs in social media. So all of those dessert posts, all that, people working on like, desserts or whatever, it's because we want to share them. And then, of course, we want to eat them. And that's how we stay fat. Anyway, we all want them. We just have to want other things in life more and appreciate like the balance of it. Okay. Oh, Sue, and Sue's story pertains to aging as well. Well, then we really need that, Sue, because not only are we very rural here at Eat Like a Bear, you probably all noticed we're also all a little bit older. It's actually, so YouTube gives statistics on the viewers that so YouTube will refer viewers to your channel, hopefully. And I don't get a lot referred to my channel, but it gives you data on the viewers and it shows me like the age breakdown. And so pretty much it's all older women. And I mean, even like 100% older than me. Like I'm too young for my own audience. So anyway, I think that's great. Anyway, so yes, we need the aging story, Sue, for sure. Okay. Okay, you guys, I'll be here tomorrow, but an hour earlier. And it's kind of just to test this because we'll see how many people did or didn't have problems today and try to work on them. And what was it, Barbara, who mentioned the email problem? So I'm curious about that and to like try to like work through that because I want very, very soon to be to the point that like none of us are worried about the tech thing for the live videos, but definitely the recording afterwards, the replays, they'll be there. That's just not an issue. You can find them like for sure. So, Terry, a bunch of older women coming into our superpowers. Absolutely. That's kind of what seems to be happening. It's kind of amazing. It's kind of amazing to me. And I've definitely gotten feedback from people saying like, I'm kind of too focused on older women. And I just say like, you know what? Ultimately we can change the world because if your grandma could do it, if your grandma could lose 100 pounds at 70 years old, you really don't have any reason you can't. So anyway, I do see us as like having that impact, and I don't even apologize that we're a bunch of older women at all. Apparently living in rural America. I mean, this is all unexpected. Yeah, yeah, we totally need to hear Sue's story. And oh, one wild bee is okay, Debbie. Okay, of course I should have known that. And but yeah, so Debbie, you're in Southern California, but but you've got bees. So you're in suburbia, but with wait a minute. Now we need to know more about that, I think. Where do you keep your bees? Are they in town? Is is it legal? Tell us that privately. Because there's restrictions in cities and stuff, and I don't even know what the bee restrictions are. I mean, I know you definitely can't have a goat in most cities or whatever, even backyard chickens in a lot of cities. So I don't know if the city planners ever thought about bees. But you were in Bakersfield recently because I said, hey, you could go to Hodell's. Yeah, so Bakersfield is an hour and a half south of us, and Debbie is. So I'm north of Bakersfield and Debbie is south of Bakersfield. But Debbie was moving bees around. This is the time for bees because bees are in the oranges. The beekeepers take bees through mainly the oranges and the almonds. And then, and you need to tell us, Debbie, then what you do with your bees after that. Like when they recuperate from their hard work, where do they vacation? That's what I like to know. Like how do the bees recover? And how are your hives? We need to know the details. So yeah. Let's see. Oh, hey, and Anna says her brother had bees in Exeter. I did not know that. That's cool. So Exeter is a little bit north west of us. So Sue, and then Bakersfield, and then Onasul and Visalia and Exeter. Yeah. We've been told that in this belt of the Sierra that because we have buckeyes, that buckeyes, like the bees are killed by the buckeye flower, and so that we shouldn't have bees. But there's obviously bees here, like whatever the natural bees are. And I do wonder if I would think that bees are smart enough not to have plants that are poison to them. So I really wonder how much that's sort of an urban legend, like that we can't have bees. I'm curious. I've always intended to ask actual people who, like the beekeepers in this little area, who are familiar with the buckeyes, who might know. I'm curious about that. Let's see. Terry says, Anna, you already are Xena, warrior princess. So Terry is on the ball looking at some of this stuff because, yeah, there's a picture somewhere of Onasul, like compared to Xena, warrior princess. I haven't seen that one in a while, but it's a great one. Let's see. And Anna says, I love bee pollen for bee vitamins. Do you collect it and sell it like honey? Yeah, good question. Good question. Yeah, we obviously need to hear a lot more about Dee's honey operation. So all of us rural people all have our fantasies that we're beekeepers, I think is part of what's going on here. Okay. Well then, very good. And all the rural projects, see, like this is what catches our attention, is like, who's doing that cool thing out on some farm somewhere or whatever. Okay, well, awesome. And how funny, like Debbie saying like she's suburban, like she's a beekeeper. Come on, you're hardly, this is what I mean. This is what I mean when I say like we're basically rural. Even when we're suburban, we're rural. Okay, well, you guys, thank you so much for this morning. This has been delightful. And you know what? I'm excited about this. I'm excited about April 4th. I'm excited that we can come together and kind of have these times that, I mean, I can appreciate that, life happens and some of these like community challenges or whatever might not be the time to do something sort of really big and really new in your life. But some will. And how many of them do we need to make fundamental change? Maybe just one, I mean, to get us on that path. And so, and for me, I'm really struck by, and that we can do this at any time with anything. And I'm so struck by what I did here on this property on February 15th, and that the power of having a goal. So Jack Canfield would be proud of this. I shall report to him. You know what? So Jack Canfield is the chicken soup guy, success principles guy, and I've gotten to know him. But I would really even hate to show him that workshop, so I don't think I can tell him. Okay, well, you guys, very good. Yeah, and okay, so yeah, I was mentioning Anna is one of the homeschooling moms, and this is maybe I couldn't even say it earlier, Anna, because this is shocking to me that her youngest is graduating, and I don't even know like how what how does this exist where a Sewell is not in school? A Sewell is not in school with us. So I still have Alistair in. So Alistair's 13. Seasons are changing. Oh my goodness. Okay. So Debbie says we are at our 1-acre property and at Cal Poly Pomona Farm. We are a pocket of rural and unincorporated Chino. Wow. Yeah. Right. Okay. Wow. Interesting. Okay. You are a little island in, wow. Okay. Cool. That's cool. All right. And the resources of like the Cal Poly resources. That's awesome. That's really great. Okay. I'm excited about the 4th, you guys. I'm excited about spring for all of us, and really intentionally pushing in and doing it, and making something of this. Times are hard. I mean, for everybody, right? And so we have to, our lives will be determined by our reaction to the larger world and what's happening. And so we can stay focused on ourselves and our own reaction and all of those decisions to ensure that this summer is amazing. We have the potential to have an amazing summer. And it really is all about our focus, like our intentions, and those decisions. And the payoff, I think, is extraordinary. I couldn't have imagined this 5 years ago as I was in that approval for bariatric surgery, not beyond my wildest dreams. And I am definitely a living testament to what can happen if you stay focused. And we have so many people in this community who are just like, our evidence is mounting. And so take that evidence and use it to help you leverage yourself in what you need to do in this next season, whatever it is, wherever it is that you're starting, because any of us at whatever stage can always leverage it and make life a little easier in the next season for ourselves. So that's what we're all doing. Very excited about it, you guys. And thank you for that opportunity for myself as well, because this keeps me focused, honestly. Like I said, I think I would have gained weight had I not had to eat like a bear community. I would not have maintained, but also I wouldn't be pushing myself to sort of do better in these goals. And that, I can't tell you how much that's benefiting me. So thank you all. Thank you for your awesomeness. So we will see you all very soon. Tomorrow morning, if you want to come back, 8 a.m. and mainly just to test it again, just try it on, all that. Okay. And see you then. Okay. Bye-bye.